When I mentioned excitement for my brother's wedding tomorrow, my aunt said, "It was last week," showing me family photos without me. Brother and parents laughed. "Didn't we tell you?" A month later, when they rang me about stop renovation payments, I simply replied, "Didn't I tell you?" Hey, Reddit. I'm 28, and until recently, I thought I had a decent, if not slightly distant, relationship with my family. My parents and I weren't overly affectionate, but I chalked that up to their personalities. My younger brother, Josh, and I were never super close growing up. He was the golden boy, and I was the quiet achiever. But I always showed up. Birthdays, graduations, even when I was studying abroad, I made time to zoom in for every holiday. I thought that counted for something. Last month, I was sitting in my apartment, half listening to a podcast and making a to-do list for my trip back home for Josh's wedding. I'd already taken time off work, booked my flight, and even found the perfect gift for the couple. I was excited. Despite some emotional distance, I was truly happy for my brother. He seemed to have found someone he adored, and I wanted to be there to support him. That week, I called my aunt to confirm some details, mainly where the out-of-town guests were staying. Casual small talk. When I mentioned how excited I was for the wedding tomorrow, there was a pause on the other end of the call. Then she said gently, as if I'd hit my head or something, "Honey, the wedding was last week." At first, I thought she was joking. My stomach dropped. I remember the room spinning slightly as I asked her what she meant. She said she assumed I knew. Then, as if to prove it, she sent me pictures over WhatsApp. My entire family dressed to the nines, beaming at the camera, posing under a floral arch. My brother and his new wife smiling ear to ear. My parents clapping in the front row. But no me. My hands were shaking. I told her I never got any updates about a change in date. She just sounded confused and said, "Didn't they tell you?" I called my parents immediately. My dad picked up, and when I asked about the wedding, he chuckled like it was nothing. "Oh, yeah. We moved it up a week. Sorry. Guess it slipped through the cracks." Slipped through the cracks. I demanded to know why no one thought to inform me. My mom chimed in the background with a smug laugh. "Didn't we tell you?" I could hear Josh in the background too, laughing. They all thought it was hilarious. I hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, phone in hand, in stunned silence. I'd rearranged my entire schedule, taken leave from work, spent money I barely had, and not one of them thought to tell me that they'd changed the date of the wedding. They acted like it was some minor oversight, like forgetting to buy milk at the store. I stewed in silence for days. I didn't respond to any follow-up texts. A week later, my brother had the audacity to send me photos of the honeymoon, like nothing had happened. Then about a month after that, my dad called. He sounded stressed. Apparently, the contractor they hired for a big renovation project on their house had walked off the job, something about missed payments or insufficient funds. My dad asked if I could help out just temporarily until their accounts cleared. See, I'm in tech. I make decent money, and for years, I've been quietly sending them help. Paying off parts of their mortgage when Dad's job got rocky. Helping Josh with tuition when he wanted to switch majors 3 times. Never expecting much in return, just doing what a daughter and sister is supposed to do, but not this time. I listened to my dad's long-winded plea, the awkward pauses, the excuses about cash flow. Then I said calmly, "Oh, didn't I tell you?" There was silence. I continued, "I stopped helping out financially after you laughed about excluding me from the wedding. I figured you'd want less to manage, less miscommunication." He tried to backpedal, saying it wasn't meant to be personal, that it was a hectic time, but I was done. I told him that the same way they forgot to include me in one of the most important family events, I forgot to include them in my budget. My mother called the next day crying, literal sobs, saying how family is everything, how I should understand, how things were just chaotic. I told her she was right. Family is everything, which is why it hurt more than I can put into words. She said Josh was the one who changed the date, that they just went along with it. I asked if they ever thought to text me, email me, literally say anything. She went quiet. Then I asked the real question that had been burning in my chest. Why didn't anyone want me there? No answer. Just some pathetic muttering about miscommunications and assumptions. I didn't press further. The answer was loud in their silence. That weekend, I took every shared account I had access to, streaming services, the spare credit card they use for groceries when things were tight, even the Amazon account I'd been letting them use. I removed their access. I didn't send a dramatic message. No big declarations. Just one quiet act of reclaiming boundaries. I started therapy finally. My therapist helped me see that I'd been used for years under the illusion of family loyalty, that my absence from the wedding wasn't a mistake. It was a message. A message that I was convenient, disposable, and not worth basic communication. But then something happened last week. Josh called me, not my parents, him. He sounded off, nervous, almost guilty. Said things weren't great between him and his new wife. Said he thought maybe excluding me from the wedding had something to do with her not liking me. Apparently, she'd read some old texts where I teased him about being clingy when we were younger. She said I was negative energy and manipulated the situation to move the date up behind my back, and my parents went along with it. I didn't say much to him, but inside, the pieces clicked together. He wasn't apologizing out of love. He was trying to pave the way for future help because he knew I was the fallback, the one who always showed up no matter what, but not anymore. I told him I appreciated the honesty and that I hoped he found a way to navigate his marriage, but I was going to keep my distance from now on. I wished him well, then ended the call. For the first time in years, I felt peace, but that peace didn't last long. Yesterday, my parents showed up, unannounced, at my apartment door. That's where the story picks up next. They didn't even knock at first, just rang the buzzer over and over like I owed them something. My heart sank the second I heard my mom's voice through the speaker. We need to talk. I should have ignored it, should have walked away. But a part of me, some stubborn remnant of the old me, let them up. The moment they walked into my apartment, my mom launched into it. Not a hello, not a hug, not even a glance at the place. Just a flurry of guilt trips. You're tearing this family apart. This is not like you. Josh made a mistake, but we're all suffering now. I stood there silently, arms crossed, just watching them unravel. My dad tried to play peacemaker as usual. He said I was being unfair, that they didn't want to upset Josh's wife and had to keep the peace. You sacrificed me to keep the peace. I said, my voice calm but firm. My mom scoffed. It wasn't about sacrifice. It was just complicated. You're always so sensitive. We didn't think it would matter that much. There it was, the truth in a single sentence. I didn't matter that much. I asked them why they were really here. My dad looked sheepish. We need a little help, that's all. Nothing big. Temporary. There it was again. I wasn't family. I was an ATM with feelings they'd rather not deal with. You need help, I said slowly. But you couldn't even send a text to let me know my brother's wedding changed dates. We thought Josh told you. My mom snapped, like it was somehow my fault now. He did, I said flatly, after the fact, and only because things are already falling apart with his wife. Their faces changed. You didn't think I'd find out, did you? I continued. You all laughed at me behind my back, and now that the fairy tale is cracking, I'm supposed to step in and save you again. My mom started crying again, the same tears she'd used on the phone weeks ago. You don't understand the pressure we were under. I was under pressure too, I said. Pressure to meet deadlines, budget my time, make plans around people who never bothered to treat me like I belonged. And still, I showed up every time. I motioned toward the door. You need help? Go ask Josh. Ask your daughter-in-law who thought I was too negative for a wedding. Ask your golden boy. They didn't move. We raised you better than this, my dad said bitterly. No, I said. You raised me to be useful. That's not the same thing. The silence in the room was suffocating. My mom opened her mouth to say something else, but I raised a hand to stop her. You didn't come here to fix anything. You came here to patch a leak in your finances with a daughter you forgot existed. I'm not doing it again. Not now. Not ever. I walked to the door and opened it. Neither of them moved. So I said, this is the part where you leave. And they did. No dramatic goodbye. No slammed doors. Just two people walking out an apartment that had never truly been theirs to walk into. The days after were quieter than I expected. No messages, no calls, no surprise visits, just nothing. And for once, the silence wasn't empty. It was peaceful. I started thinking about the years I'd spent trying to earn a seat at a table where I was never really wanted, birthdays where my gifts were shrugged off, holidays where my accomplishments were overshadowed by Josh's latest endeavor. Phone calls where I asked about their lives, only to realize no one ever asked about mine. And yet I kept giving because I thought that's what good daughters did. But daughters are not servants, or safety nets, or emotional punching bags. I used to tell myself that being excluded wasn't personal, that they were just forgetful, busy, distracted. But when your whole family attends a wedding and doesn't tell you it's been moved on purpose, you stop pretending it's a misunderstanding. It's rejection. It's intentional, and it changes you. About a week later, I got a letter in the mail, an actual handwritten letter from my grandmother, my dad's mom. We'd always been close, but she lived in a retirement community upstate, so we didn't speak as often as we used to. She'd heard everything from my aunt. "I just want you to know," she wrote, "that what they did to you wasn't right. I'm proud of how you stood up for yourself. You deserved better than that." She ended the note with a line I'll never forget. "Sometimes the strongest family we have is the one we build ourselves." It was the first time I cried. Real. Shoulder-shaking tears. Because someone saw me. Someone understood that I wasn't just hurt. I'd been betrayed. That same week, I started doing things I'd put off for years. I booked a solo trip to Lisbon, something I dreamed about since college, but always pushed aside because there was always something else to handle for my family. I bought a new couch. I changed the locks. I finally took a photo of myself and framed it, something that sounds silly but was my way of saying, I live here. I matter. Josh texted me a few days later. Just a single line, "Are you really done with us?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied, "No. I'm just done being the only one who tries." No response. And honestly, I didn't need one. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. It does. Sometimes, I still scroll through old family pictures and feel a sharp pang of loss, not for what was, but for what should have been. But that pain doesn't own me anymore. I used to think family was something you were born into. Now I know. It's something you choose to build with people who show up, people who care, people who remember you exist when the guest list is finalized. I'm building that kind of family now, and I'm starting with myself.